Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. Our series, Surviving Day School, concludes tonight with part 3. Brittany Guillot has this report for us, and a warning: viewers may find some of this material upsetting.
It's hard to imagine a more beautiful place for such horrific memories. Memories that still haunt Ray Hype.
In the 1960s, our first house burned down here, on this property. And we didn't grow up. We were put right to work. We had to dig the basement for the old house here, all by hand. We used to go to school in a boat. We used to call it a school boat. Pick us up here and bring us over there.
He has never forgotten the abuses he suffered and witnessed while he attended the Ucluelet Indian Day School in the 1960s.
Just being punched every day, getting slapped in the wrist and leather strap in the roller, and yeah, and being called dumb Indian all through the 4 years or whatever in the classrooms. And watching my relatives being punished the same way. She'd do it right in front of brought it up to the front of the class and made sure all the other relatives were watching and seeing the punishment would be.
The teachers and nuns were cold, but survivor Daniel Frank says it was the principal of his school in Ahousaht who was the worst offender.
I was molested as a kid when I was living in Port Alberni, and that just brought back memories when the principal touched me in grade 6, 7. Me and my brother and one of my other cousins were there when it happened. I used to have rubber dolls, sex dolls, and he'd try to get us to have sex with the dolls and touch them. And he tried touching us, and he touched me once, and that scared the hell out of me because of what happened when I was younger.
According to an access to information request obtained by APTN News, principals at day schools were the numbers men, and there were reams of paper for them to fill out, including for truancy, withdrawals, and even for deaths. Correspondence showed they faced serious infrastructure issues at schools. An access to information request revealed 200 Indigenous children died while they attended various day schools across Canada. The documents are a partial data set, representing just 15% of all Indian day schools. It's unclear just how many children died while attending the Ucluelet Indian Day School, but documents indicate that 95 students died under the West Coast Agency from 1949 to 1954. Hype says the news is incredibly difficult to take in.
It hurts. Yeah, especially, yeah. I had a few that died here, the relatives. I think knowing that they won't be coming back, that's what really bothered me. Actually today is still thinking back on how much was gone and how much did not come back, and some are still here, but they're just not here. You know what I mean?
But for Hype, reconciling with his past hasn't been an easy journey. His struggle with addiction ended 35 years ago.
It still comes back at me once in a while. And one of my band members said, "You'll get over it." I said, "No, you don't get over stuff like that. It bounces around in there forever, never."
Brittany Guillot, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
You can watch the entire 3-part series online at aptnnews.ca by clicking on the Surviving Day School link. That's where you can also read reporter Kathleen Martin's online stories. The Hope for Wellness hotline can be reached 24 hours a day at 1-855-242-3310 or online at hopeforwellness.ca. Well, joining me now for reaction to the project is Sean Carlton. He's an assistant professor of history at the University of Manitoba. Sean, good to see you. In addition to residential schools, there are calls to search day school grounds for graves as well. Why do you feel that's important?
Well, I think that people need to remember that day schools and residential schools were actually twin parts of the same project of colonization and ruling by schooling in Canada. People often think that residential schools and day schools were completely separate. But in fact, many Indigenous children went to day schools and then they went to residential schools. Some of the same church denominations would run day and residential schools. And so they're interconnected histories that we really need to grapple with and reckon with together.
Just saying that alone, how much research is being done on these schools?
Well, there are currently 2 class action lawsuits. And as a result of those class action lawsuits, there is a lot more research being done into the day school system. However, for the most part, residential schools have a lot more research done about them. I've been studying day schools for over a decade, trying to better understand the day school system, particularly as it operated in what is today known as British Columbia. And so a lot of people don't know a lot about the day school system, which had over 200,000 children, over 700 schools. So we're talking in terms of scale, on par or even greater than the residential school system. And yet there is this sort of lack of public knowledge about the school system.
Mm-hmm. The records we received are incomplete. How difficult is it to find out about deaths at all of these institutions?
Well, it is a challenge. Many of the records being kept by church officials are incomplete. When they do talk about student deaths, they're often very dispassionate, brief mentions. As well, a lot of deaths at residential schools or at day schools weren't officially reported. Many of the children were just sort of sent home to their parents to die in community and not officially being put on record. So, the 200 deaths that APTN has uncovered through their records, looking at just 46 schools, I think it should be a sign for people to continue to do work into the day school system and to do more work in this regard.
Sean, we'll have to leave it there, but appreciate you spending some time with us here today.
Thanks so much.
To other news now, and after a one-day delay, the verdict is in. The jury of the coroner's inquest looking into the police killing of Rodney Levi has determined it was a homicide. Angel Moore has this report from Miramichi, New Brunswick.
The Levi family wept after the jury made its decision of homicide. Over the past week, 24 witnesses testified Levi struggled with mental health issues and addictions, while one expert suggested Rodney Levi's death was suicide by cop. Ultimately, Rodney's sisters, Rhoda Levi, said the jury made the right decision.
In a broad sense, not looking at what most of the RCMP witnesses had to say. That was the hardest thing of hearing my brother's suicide by cop, suicide by cop.
Rhoda and Linda Levi, Rodney's sisters, told reporters after the ruling the family should take part of the proceedings.
I just like to see more family involvement in these proceedings.
Yeah,
I like to see more family involvement.
We're the only province.
Yeah.
There's no standing for family.
Yeah.
And there should be.
There should be, because this was a roller coaster.
And where we didn't even have any documentation, nothing, we want to ask questions too.
Presiding coroner John Evans disagrees because a coroner's inquest does not assign blame to anyone, but only determines a cause of death, either suicide, undetermined, or homicide. Evans says the family is not shut out of the proceedings altogether, but their direct input could delay proceedings.
And is the public interest really served by that kind of additional layer of allowing standing as such, formal standing in a legal sense? It means the process gets protracted and it costs the public a lot more, and frankly, the end result is perhaps no better.
The jury made over 20 recommendations. Most notably, the first responder to a mental health crisis should be a community member and not a police officer. More RCMP training in the use of a taser, and a quicker rollout of body cams worn by police. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Miramichi, New Brunswick.
Thanks, Angel, for your reporting this week. We've got to step aside for a quick break, but stick around. There's much more to come. Welcome back. In August, we told you about an encampment of homeless people in Wetaskiwin, south of Edmonton. People were living in an indoor shelter, but the city shut it down. Now, with winter on the doorstep, we have this update.
We run into is laundry. So when we look
Craig Halbertson is the owner of the Rock Soup, Greenhouse, and Food Bank. In August, he helped set up 55 tents on and beside his food bank after the city of Wetaskiwin prematurely ended a lease on a shelter called The Hub, operated by the Camrose Open Door Association. Halbertson says the city fined him for helping and even tried to close his nonprofit and evict him. The city forced the encampment to move behind the Walmart on city property.
Here we had a connection, a family, we had bathrooms, running water, power, heat, laundry facilities, we had Wi-Fi. There they don't have any of that. They don't have power, they don't have water, there's no way to warm up, and it's cold out there right now. There's fire pits, but there's no consistent fuel.
Carrie Lou has been at the Hub, at the Rock Soup, and now behind the Walmart. She is looked up to in this little community. With nighttime temperatures now in the negatives, Carrie Lou says a permanent indoor solution is needed now.
They're getting colder. Like I had 4 Pendleton blankets, like the thick ones, covered up, and I was still freezing. I had my winter jacket on. It's getting colder, and
there's no indoor place yet.
There is no indoor place yet, but some of these people, they stay up all night just to keep warm by the fire.
In August, Mayor Tyler Gandam told APTN that closing the indoor shelter was due to an increase in crime. However, the RCMP told APTN that crime was actually down. The mayor also told APTN he was expecting a solution for the homeless before the winter. So far, this camp is the solution. Halverson says there are not enough supports. The Open Door Association provides medical, mental, and addictions help, but a bylaw prevents them from operating on city property. They have to provide services through a fence on private property.
People are being denied access to services. The city is currently preventing the shelter from their staff being able to access the site. Bylaw has been enforced. Bylaw is being encouraged to enforce a $600 fine for any staff on site. These are the medical professionals, the counselors, the addictions therapists, the nurse, the doctors.
Jessica Hutton is the CEO of the Camrose Open Door Association, which ran the indoor shelter. She says it's heartbreaking that her staff can't go into the camp.
It's absolutely beyond frustrating. I think frustrating doesn't sum up what it is anymore. I think it's horribly sick to us to have to stand on the fence line and watch what's going on and watch people who are so sick and be completely unable and powerless to go and do what we know we do best.
With winter arriving, the situation for the people in the camp is getting worse.
There are people that have died since we closed the Hub. There was a monumental medical emergency last night, and those types of things really concern us. When we can't get on to check on clients and it turns into a monumental emergency, that's obviously very concerning, that there might be people who won't get medications or food or water or help or any of that because we're not allowed on the site right now.
She told APTN that 4 people have died since my story in late August.
That's my happy place, cleaning.
Carrie Lou told APTN she recently fell and now has a metal plate in her arm, and the cold is unbearable.
Oh, I didn't realize that having a plate in your arm when it gets cold, it really, really hurts. It's like I cried in my tent for 2 hours. In agonizing pain, and I don't know. We need a warm building to live in for the winter.
Wetaskiwin Mayor Tyler Gandam told APTN that he is too busy preparing for October 18th elections to comment on this story. As for now, those staying here will continue to live, try to stay warm, and hope to find an indoor place to stay before temperatures plummet. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Wetaskiwin.
Thanks, Chris. In Calgary, a mural created by a Blackfoot artist has been covered up by a new development. As Tamara Pimentel reports, that has residents outraged.
The image is called Sunset Songs, and it just kind of represents moving forward, rebuilding.
Sunset Songs launched Calum Teekdan's career when the mural was created in 2018. Today, the work has been bricked over with construction of a new development.
I feel pretty disrespected they should have consulted at least me or the owner of the building. Maybe we could have made some resolves.
Located on a busy corner in downtown Calgary.
That's disgraceful.
Passerbys were shocked to see this iconic piece covered up. Theodora Warrior is a resident of the area, originally from Piikani Nation. Calum's art made her feel at home.
In our time of mourning, this is not the time to be doing this. To me, that just showed what they think of us.
The piece was commissioned by the city's Beltline Urban Mural Project. In an email to APTN, the City of Calgary said murals are considered temporary. Property owners can change or remove artwork at any point. According to the email, there is currently a temporary stop work notice on the site, and an investigation is ongoing. Since 2018, Calum has been commissioned to paint other murals around the city. He has plans to showcase more of his work in the near future, but is now in search of a new home for Sunset Songs. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Calgary.
Strange. Well, we have an update for you on an election story. In the days before the September vote, the Manitoba Metis Federation announced a contest to encourage members to participate in the election. President David Chartrand told members to just get out there and vote, and the MMF backed that up with the contest. Prizes included video game consoles and 50-inch flat-screen TVs, and even a brand new car. They announced the lucky winner of a new Chevy Spark today online.
Here's the car. Here's the owner. Mr. Jason Boyson.
I was waiting for him to pull my name, but it didn't happen. Well, we got to step aside for one more quick break, but stick around. There's more to come. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Today's photo comes to us from Manitoulin Island in Ontario. Susan Hare captured this beautiful fall sunset on Shijing First Nation while building a campfire. Thanks for sharing this great shot, Susan. You want to email your pictures to share at aptn.ca along with the description, and we'll feature your photo right here. Time now to take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the east coast, 15 for Halifax and Fredericton. 14 with showers in Kuujjuaq, 8 in Nain. 22 in Montreal, 21 for Chibougamau. 19 with showers for Sault Ste. Marie and North Bay. 17 with rain in Thunder Bay, rain, and 16 for Sioux Lookout. Sunny and 12 in God's Lake, 15 under the sun in Norway House. Showers and 16 for Winnipeg, Dauphin, and Barons River. 17 and sunny in Regina and North Battleford. 15 and sunny in Meadow Lake, rain, and 8 in Uranium City. In northern Alberta, 12 for Fort McMurray, 10 and showers in Fort Chip. 17 in Lethbridge, 14 in Edmonton. Rain and 11 in Vancouver, 1 degree warmer with showers in Victoria. 9 in Prince George with showers, 6 and rain in Dease Lake. 0 in Old Crow, 5 with snow for Dawson. Rain and 6 for Yellowknife, +1 in Norman Wells. -4 in Sax Harbor, 1 below in Paulatuck. 10 in Arviette, 7 for Whale Cove and Chesterfield. -2 with snow in Resolute, snow and 0 in Arctic Bay. Well, colonialism is everywhere and nowhere all at once. Robert J. Ballantyne looks at why in the season premiere of APTN Investigates. He joins us now. Robert, great to see you. Can you tell us more about the show's title, The Colonial Playbook? What is the Colonial Playbook?
Yeah, the Colonial Playbook is a set of tactics that the Canadian government uses that we put forward to deny and delay Indigenous justice. It's like a handbook that's been passed down from generations to generations, kind of like the way we pass down our own knowledge. They also have this knowledge of how to kind of keep us in place with laws and regulations and different approaches.
Well, what are some of the tactics of the Colonial Playbook?
Well, one of the tactics we explore, my colleague Christopher Reed does, it's called concealing the past. So the ways that residential school experience has been denied and neglected, and we follow a survivor at Edmonton Indian Residential School who had to bury other people as part of his duties. And he explains how he's approached the United Church, also the government, the federal government, and trying to get not only recognition for this experience, but also to bring the bodies home that are there. And recently there's been an application made for ground penetrating radar there. So hopefully they'll be able to find the bodies and bring them home.
One of the segments explores the tactic of hypocrisy and deceit. Child welfare advocate Cindy Blackstock is your interview subject. Why did you choose Cindy?
Well, I think Cindy is kind of the ultimate representation of someone who experiences the government saying one thing, that yes, we support First Nations children, and on the other hand, faces them in court. And we had an example, I think was pretty notable, it came up in the election about Justin Trudeau saying that he was not litigating against First Nations children, and yet the very next week, you know, Cindy Blackstock and the Assembly of First Nations and the Caring Society were in federal court defending kids from the Government of Canada. So we followed her story, and actually APTN has followed her story since the beginning pretty much. And you'll see kind of a reel of her experiences and a discussion about, you know, this latest win for her with the multi-billion-dollar settlement and the upholding of Jordan's principle for non-status kids. And there's still a chance for the government to appeal again at the end of this month.
Yeah, crazy. Well, Robert, looks like a lot covered here. Really looking forward to it. Appreciate you taking some time to speak with us about it.
Thanks, Dennis.
You can catch the Colonial Playbook tonight right after our newscast on APTN Investigates, which is pretty much right now. We're all out of time for tonight. For news anytime, though, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.